think we've all felt at some point in life how nice it would be if someone could just pick you up from the bottom and be like, listen, just go this way. Go this way. This is a good path and you'll feel safe and at home and there's no chaos this way. But unfortunately, you are in charge of your own life.
I speak of a message said thousands of times, yet we smile when it's meant.
You, Geir, Oscar, and Katrine, thank you so much. It's hectic times, I'm sure, given where you guys are with the new album cycle. Before we get started, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good, yeah.
Generally good.
Very good.
Generally good. Very good. There you go. Nice. Good all around. There's not a bad thing in the atmosphere right now. We're all super happy. We're all super happy. Awesome. Now, your album, as we're talking, is coming in about 2 weeks from now. A Frame of Mind comes out September 13, Friday the 13th. This is your third album in 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So how does that feel? Like you were working for 10 years, long time, and then all of a sudden it starts to go very fast. Does it feel that way? Like, does it feel that you have no time to pause and realize what's going on around you? How are you living up to this release?
Thank you for noticing that we've been working many years behind the scenes. Yes, we have. I don't particularly feel like it's going too fast. I just feel like because we know each other so well and the fact that we've worked so many years before, I feel like we are very much ready for what's to come. And we have become good musicians and songwriters and composers during all that time.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent 10 years sort of trying to discover what it was we were supposed to create. So, I mean, we made a lot of music that we didn't release at that time. And we spent a lot of time building the studio we're in right now. So we were able to sit down and take the time needed to make the music we wanted to make.
Yeah.
So now we've sort of put ourselves in a situation where we can actually create music and all the time.
I would also say it took us a long time to sort of be able to create what we had in our heads, because that's not always a given when you're learning. You have an idea of where you want to be, but you're not physically sort of skilled enough to be able to create that that audio universe.
Yeah. To realize your vision, if you will.
Yeah. But now I feel like we are very much. We can, and lots of different genres as well, which the album definitely sort of, again, delves into. It's very sort of up and down in mood and genre and whatnot.
Yeah.
So a band like yourself that oh, go ahead, sorry, Yoga.
Thank you for thinking and saying that we are making a lot of music, and because it feels like for us, like every band is releasing another album after 1 year, and we have 2 years on the album, and it's nice that people have the patience. Anyway.
Yeah.
I tell myself that there are some bands that spend 4 or 7 years between every album, so I'm like, we're okay.
Yeah,
we're okay.
Hey, as long as you don't go into Chinese democracy territory of Guns N' Roses and take 25 years for an album, you're good. Now, you're right. This album still, like as you say it, on the one hand, it took a while for us to kind of figure out what we wanted to do, but we still see a very varied and eclectic album and an eclectic sound. So just to kind of give credit where credit is due then, because if a band wants to try a lot of different styles, you need to have a rhythm section that can fire that. And we've got Oscar in the back there, who is the drummer, who is here today. So Oscar, do these two give you enough credit for being able to provide all the rhythms that they want to explore?
Yeah, like I'm part of the on this album, I've been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then things are shaped with me in their minds from the beginning. Me as a drummer. So yes, I feel credited. That was the question.
Wonderful. Would it be fair to say that this album is a musical journey of melancholia, if you will, self-doubt, but then in the end, acceptance, empowerment? There's a glimmer of hope here.
Is there? I think it's always really interesting to sort of delve into the mind and the psychology of why we do what we do, why do we behave a certain way, and where does it come from? And obviously also we're a product of the time that we live in. We can't. I can't not say that we've been affected by the world around us, and I feel like our songs are about that. But this time, I guess, I mean, we do care a lot about the storytelling and how can we make these songs sort of tell a story in a way that makes sense. And we tried to do that probably a bit more on this record, and also sort of having the clock going from start and then it ends with a clock. And a new loop is created, and it's sort of like this sort of ancestral doubt that we all have. It goes on repeat and it will continue forever.
I'd agree with you that there is a hope in the end, in a way. And like you start off like lyrically, there's can't forgive and they won't forget in sort of the first song, and the last song and try to forgive and remember. And it's sort of it's a journey. And I think a lot of your points in this is that if you go through the things that are difficult, it will get harder, but you will reach the other side a better person if you go through the difficulties. So I mean, there is hope in, and there's also beauty in melancholy. I think there's a lot of beautiful thing you can describe about suffering, about human condition.
There's no dark or there's no light without the dark kind of idea.
And you could with sort of having Bardaginn and the state of the world next to each other in a way. Like one song is very sort of war amped, whilst the other talks about peace, and it's very direct and naive about that. And I think even though they're really opposites, I feel like they go hand in hand, because we are talking about the human condition. Sometimes we act purely on primal instincts, and we just want to go and we just want to charge and we just want to go and run wild with our emotions. But on the other hand, you also need sort of to be able to hold your horses and be able to calm down. And how can we make a large group of people sort of be able to hold back and use common sense?
Is there a specific narrative, or is it intentionally left up for interpretation? Because a lot of the songs, to me at least, seem like, depending on my mood, I would interpret differently, every time I listen to them. The same with some of the visual art. I mean, obviously, if you have the Are You Ready video, the protagonist, assuming it is a protagonist, doesn't want to be drawn into a cult, but eventually does kind of fail, it seems like that. Again, many ways that you could interpret that. Is that by design?
I would say our music videos don't always describe literally what the song is about. It's
right.
But we do obviously have fun sort of experimenting and taking it to an extreme level in the video, because it's fun, and it's also an interesting take on like how far could it go. But I mean, the song itself talks more about I think we've all felt at some point in life how nice it would be if someone could just pick you up from the bottom and be like, listen, just go this way. Go this way. this is a good path, and you'll feel safe and at home, and there's no chaos this way. But unfortunately, you are in charge of your own life, and you have to make the choices for yourself. But and that song is kind of written a bit like a script. Like one side wants to be led, but wants to make an independent choice about it, whilst the other also craves someone who's willing to follow, or else there will be no community. So that there's this sort of push and pull.
Now, to kind of go just a little deeper then on the meanings and the lyrics specifically, because it is, you say you deal with some very interesting themes. Now, some of the lyrics are in English, some of them are definitely not. The assumption that I make whenever a band chooses to write in a specific language, whether it's their mother tongue or not, there is a reason for that, and usually that reason is because English doesn't capture it in the same nuance that you would like to say it, or there's a beauty in the poetry or what have you. So people like me, we can use Google Translate to, get the essence of the lyrics, but we'll miss out on the nuance, and we'll miss out on the specific reason that you did it in a different language to begin with. Is that okay for you, or is it unfortunate that somebody like me won't 100% get it, if you will?
It's interesting that you, feel like that, or think about it in that sense. I think however we make music, I think it's important that it makes sense for us, and then hopefully, although we might miss it, it will affect the one who's listening to it. And I think it's very interesting, for example, when we go on tour, because that's the only time I really get to speak with the people who are listening to our music. It's very interesting to hear how people perceive the songs that are in Norwegian or in Old Norse, and they might say, I don't want you to tell your story because I have my story. But
right.
what I'm feeling is this and this and this. And I'm like, I think that's beautiful. I think that's great that you feel that way. And it's not far away from the topic at all. I'm not going to say the topic, but I think it's wonderful that you feel like that's what it meant for you. So I don't want to tell people too much about how you should perceive it.
In a way, I feel like we can't be responsible for, like, as soon as you've created something, it's not really yours anymore. Like,
right.
When you are listening to something, you are sort of creating the emotions yourself, and you are putting yourself into it. And if we, in creating our music, don't leave enough space for people to be themselves in music, then it has no value in a way. It's like you over-explaining what you're trying to do, and then I think that annoys me, like when I'm listening as well. So it's just like,
actually, speaking about that, I do have an example from I will try to avoid details, but we had a gig in Scotland, and a lot of people feel very connected to, for example, our song Borders, because it's sort of a hymn to Mother Nature, if you will. And but Mother Nature is also very ruthless. Like, she doesn't really care about us. Mother Nature just does what needs to be done, and you're just a little part of it. And someone in the merch queue where we were standing, she was in her own world and she was going through her own journey. And she was like, thank you for writing that song. I know what I have to do I know what I have to do now, surrendering myself to Mother Earth. And I was like, what do you mean?
Are you okay?
Like, you stay on this earth, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I said. And then she sort of like didn't really want to meet my gaze there, and she had already made some plans in her mind, and she was like, I know what I have to do. And I was like, whoa, that's really heavy. I don't know how to take that, but is that my responsibility now? Is that my fault for making that song? Or but in my head I'm thinking, you know, people are totally free to perceive it however they wish.
Yeah.
And I'm making music that I feel is true for me, but I can't be responsible for everyone's
interpretation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's first of all hope that fan, that very passionate fan, is watching this interview right now, and that she is good and safe, and you know, finding every day a little easier because of your music. But when songs become so emotional, not just for your audience, but also, like, you know, you say yourself, Katrine, that you know, you write honest and real lyrics, like for Jugir and Oscar. You know, when you find out that, like, music you're working on gets this extra emotional layer, if you will, when those lyrics are added, do you guys feel even some sort of responsibility? Is probably maybe a word that's a little too heavy, but when you know that, you know, Katrina pours her, you know, heart and emotion into a song, all of a sudden the song, I can imagine, becomes more, you know, has more weight, or, you know, it becomes more heavy from an emotional perspective. Does that for you as a drummer or as a guitar player also kind of change the game a bit? Like, do you feel more invested, or do you want to make sure that you become a group, that you want to make sure that you do those emotions justice, if you will, as you are not just recording these songs, but having to play these songs in the future over and over again? What's that like for you when you realize that a song is becoming so emotional for people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that feeling for me when I'm performing, like when I'm on the stage, I could never be more alive than I am on stage, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm also inside of my head and in a bubble, in a way. It's not natural for me to think that much of
lyrics.
Yeah, no, but things like stories like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm playing, I don't have a story like that in my mind after it happened.
Yeah.
But things like that occurs, between the shows a lot. But when I'm on stage, I'm
in the zone.
Yeah, I'm just interacting on what's happening right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But of course, I'm very affected of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Hearing this story and.
I mean, I don't hold it against my members to know what the songs are about, because we all are responsible for different fields within the band. But I mean, if someone do understand or feel a certain connection with it, that's wonderful. But it's like I can't take it upon myself to understand what Oscar is going through and how he plays drums. It's completely Greek.
Mm-hmm. But I definitely think it's a big part of the arrangement, like trying to understand the meaning of the song, and you will also sort of agree, like you would argue that this songs need to have this feeling based on sort of the theme we're in. So It's just like trying to understand what you're trying to say, which emotions you're trying to convey. Mm-hmm. Like, how are you going to achieve that with instrumentation, with timbre, with feel, tempo? Like, you want sort of the most emotional impact of a song to be at the right place, and how you achieve that. So that is.
Yeah, I'm very particular about mood and feel, and also when I'm not singing and I'm taking a step back for the instrumentation to rock out, I also feel like I've been saying lately that the instrumentation needs to put to words what I'm not saying. So when I shut my mouth, the instrumentation needs to explain what I'm not.
But also in terms of lyrics, like Katrina doesn't write all the lyrics herself.
Right.
No.
So, but often
I get a lot of
most of the songs you would have sort of basic demo melody and lyrics, and some songs like the lyrics are not changed at all, and some songs will go into the same theme or topic, and we maybe add a bit of ourselves into it, and so you'll have more layers in the lyrics sometimes. So that may be why you feel like there's like many people can
relate
the different factors, because there are multiple people sort of.
Yeah.
You're just getting started in this cycle. Obviously, the album's coming out. You've got shows planned. There's going to be a headline tour coming. Like so many bands, I mean, you're being looped in with bands that play very different music than you, but you know, everybody that has somewhat of a Scandinavian folk touch to their sound, you know, kind of all grouped together. And all these bands have found homes on metal labels as well. I mean, one of the reasons that I'm also talking to you, like usually I talk to like pure metal bands, if you will. You're getting all of a sudden an extremely diverse crowd now. You know, you'll have pure folk enthusiasts and metalheads both coming to your show, and you've got, you know, an eclectic sound. So with the tour coming, what can we expect? You know, if we go to one of your shows, what should we brace ourselves for?
I would say if you listen to our top 5 tracks on Spotify, you would get like a different perspective, like different experience than from live thing. I think live it's showing off great musicianship in a different way, while still maintaining the core of the songs and storytelling in a different way. But definitely it's more alive in a way. Like it's interpretations of things that have been created without thinking about doing it live, and then having to sort of figure out how to do it live. Just an interesting process in itself. But I really would have wanted to see us live myself. That's how.
But I feel I'm really I feel really grateful when I see families coming together. You know, I see whole families, or like a dad and his daughter, or a mum and her son, and like whether like the kids are 7 years old or they are 13 and they've just discovered us. I think it's wonderful that like a whole generation can relate in some way. I think that's wonderful, and especially I heard there was this one guy in UK. He was probably like 60 years old, and he was like, "Oh, it's so good that you guys make music that I used to hear so much from. I hear the elements of Pink Floyd, and oh, I miss Pink Floyd." That's like, whoa, huge compliment. Hard to follow, but I mean, that's just like the greatest form of flattery, really.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, you know, we'll keep our eyes open for all the good content that you can be creating from these shows, and you know, you won't be able to see yourself live on stage, but hopefully you guys get to record a lot of stuff so that you can appreciate it after the fact, at least. You know, I wish you all the best with this album coming out in just, you know, a week and a half at this point, I guess, or 2 weeks from now. Have so much fun with that. I hope you have the time to take a step back in the craziness to appreciate, and then we'll keep our eyes open for more announcements coming our way. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you so much for having us.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe. to the channel.